Twitch, YouTube, oh, Facebook, you're the winner today. Facebook, you're online if you're on Facebook. I don't think anybody's online with Facebook, though. YouTube second online, and just waiting. Will Twitch be online? Will we get Twitch online? It takes forever to get to Twitch. I don't know why. Hard to say, but Facebook, you're out there on Facebook. You're out there on YouTube, you're live. You're out there on Twitch, you're waiting. It's almost to you. Keep sending you data. Maybe it's got to get through the interwebs, get through the pipes, get out to you. That gives everybody else a chance to get their coffee and get going. Man, Twitch, you're taking a long time. Again, we're gonna drive on without Twitch. Let's go on without Twitch. Good morning, Paul. First in the queue, first person on. Kind of as always. I always expect Paul to be first in the queue. Lots of stuff going on today. It's kind of a weird day in the news. Strange happenings. Some things that aren't connected, but you'll see how they're connected later. Got things going. It's going to be a good day. It's Friday for a ton of people. A lot of people have tomorrow off because it's the 4th. Well, it's not the 4th, it's the 3rd, but it's the holiday for the 4th. So you're probably going to be off. I think I was going to take tomorrow off, but I think I'm going to go ahead and broadcast in the morning. I want to get some of those videos cut, get them out there, queued up, ready to go over the weekend, so I don't have to do them over the weekend. So I think you're going to see a Cup of Cyber tomorrow, if you're up. I would expect if you get the day off, you're probably going to sleep in. That's what most people will do. But Coda's having a hard time here. Not feeling well. The pup is not feeling well. Okay, buddy. So poor guy. It's on the meds. Trying to get him better. Then, obviously Piper's got to run down and check him out. So lots of stuff going on in the news. There's a lot to cover, and things that don't seem like they're related are related. And we'll see how they all play out as we go along. So let's get the morning roll going. Let's get the little clip going, and then we'll talk about the news. Dennis has made it. Good morning, Dennis. Morning, y'all. Or morning, all. I thought I said y'all. Thought you were being southern this morning, Dennis. Lots going on in the news that is. We picked Dennis up and we lost Paul. That's just the way it goes. Maze. Let's get set up here first. Usually it takes a little while to get everybody up and running in the morning. I don't know how to fix that, but that's okay. Let's get that over there, and we'll get this up yonder, as they say in the South, I guess. Starting out with Maze. Maze is everywhere. Maze continues to claim victims. Now they've released some information that they've got they've got data from the electronics giant LG. We got a whole new set of victims, and the thing about Maze, I guess they're equal opportunity. They don't discriminate on anyone. Paul, you're still there. I wonder if Dennis popped in and popped out. So they don't discriminate. So they are going after everyone in every sector, and they just don't care. So this new victim, LG Electronics, they put some screenshots of the score. They threw some screenshots up of the source code of some of the LG's products. It's crazy. They didn't know if the source code was for firmware or for a new piece of software or what. They also named Xerox, WorldNet Telecommunications, Columbus Metro Federal Credit Union, We Build Spa, which is, I guess, an Italian industrial group, as targeted and successful hacks as well. So it's crazy. And now they're marketing. They're taking things on as if they're a company. I mean, They're issuing press releases. So on June 22nd, Maze operators published a press release warning its victims not to try to decrypt the locked files. At the end of the press release, they had mentioned that they will soon be leaking the data of LG Electronics. In another post, the Maze Group provides examples of stolen data from 4 companies: ST Engineering, Max Linear, Conduent, and MJ Brunner. And I guess MJ Brunner used some negotiators to try to get to restore their hacked files, but they weren't able to do it. So Maze, again, they don't care who they go after. They're going after everyone. So they're targeting high-profile government and defense contractors, consultants, engineering services, electric authority companies, hardware manufacturers, financial service organizations, just about anywhere. Mainly targeting folks in the United States, but they're also targeting folks in South Korea, Canada, Thailand, Latin America, and Brazil. So they just equal opportunity. So Maze is a huge ransomware organization. It's done a ton of things in the last month or so that have just made it stand out from all the other ransomware rings. So first, First, about a month ago, they set up a website where they began posting not only their victims' ransomware or their victims' data. So essentially, let's back up. So Maze comes in, somehow they get on to your system, on your network, and they encrypt your data. So whether it's phishing or some type of malicious software like worms, viruses, or trojans, somehow they get onto your network. They encrypt your data, and then they take a copy off. The first, I guess they do it the other way around. They take a copy of the data off, and then they encrypt everything with an encryption logarithm that really can't be broken. So now you're left with encrypted data and none of your original data. They've got your original data. So they try to get you to pay a ransomware fine, a ransomware ransom, to get your data back. And apparently these guys do give your data back. So if you don't pay the money back, if you don't pay the money for the ransom, maybe you've got a copy of your data backed up somewhere and you're able to recover from it. The other step they do is they post this information to their website. So they'll post your sensitive information to their website. Last month, they started offering the service to other ransomware organizations to post this data to their website. So several other ransomware organizations have tied into this cartel to post the ill-gotten gain. So if the folks don't pay the ransom, maybe they've got protections in place so they don't, essentially they don't need that encrypted data. They can just restore from the backup they've got and they're not going to pay the ransom. These folks will still post your sensitive data online. No, but yeah, Dennis, they're all about the dollars. They don't seem to be hacktivists at all. They go after anyone. There's no rhyme or reason if you have money, they're going after you. So if you're a not-for-profit or a non-profit or a for-profit organization, they're coming after you. They just want the money. They are purely profit-based, and they act like an organization. They're coordinated. They're well-structured. They have these press releases that they release. It's strange. So again, following the Alex rules of these stories, why they do it? They're doing it for the money. That's it. Their name is getting they're probably the most well recognized ransomware organization out there. They've done that, and I think they've done a lot of that in the last couple months. They've really started pushing. They're well organized and they're just structured well for a terrible organization. So they're after the money. They want to get your money. So how do we protect against these guys? The first thing, we got to train our users. Users have to be trained, and we'll keep knocking on that all the time. Train your users, because if they're the ones that fall for the phishing or other social engineering techniques, it doesn't really matter what other protections you put in place. You can put $1 million worth of protections in place, or $10 million worth of protections in place, and when that end user clicks that link and it blows right past them, you're still in the same situation. So train your users. That's important. Also, have defensive processes in place. So have your defense in depth. Have your malware protection turned on. Have it updated. Have it everywhere. I don't think Mike is here, but he can tell you. Have your inventory. Know what equipment you've got. Know your hardware. Know your software. Know what's out there so you know what to defend against. So that's the big thing. We know why they're doing it. We know how to protect against it. That's the big two pieces: the who and the how. And we talk through the what. So Maze is out there. Maze is not going away, and they're becoming the king ransomware organization of this cartel that they're building. Definitely not good stuff for the defenders. Bad guys are getting organized. Is this the dawning of a new era of organized crime on a network scale? I don't know. Definitely not good. GoldenSpy tax software. This has been around. GoldenSpy was distributed a while ago in this tax software called Intelligent Tax, and it was released by a Chinese bank. It's a Chinese tax software program, and it was installed, and it did a lot of the normal stuff, the normal malware stuff we see. It stole information. It did some key logging. It tried to keep track of what the users were doing on systems with this installed, with this malware installed. Yeah, chaos from Gets. Yeah, I agree. That's funny. Yeah, I used to love to watch Get Smart. They need another show. They need more shows like that, like Chaos. Yeah, Maze. I don't know how some of these places get their name. So, this tax software had this malware installed, and now it looks like there's another round going around, and it's got another piece of code in this software. AWX.exe was discovered by TrustWave on June 28th, and this piece of software goes in and removes the malware. So it looks like it's a piece of software that goes in and tries to cover the tracks of the initial piece of GoldenSpy malware. So they think they're just using this to obfuscate what they've been doing to cover their tracks. So there was the first round of GoldenSpy was the infection to gather information and to track users and see what's going on. The second round here is to cover their tracks, and that's the why. Obviously, the protection from this would be anti-malware, right? Malware protections. And this, you might be saying, well, why are we even talking about spyware or malicious code on a piece of tax software that was developed by a Chinese-based corporation? And this is for Chinese taxes, and that's the hook here. Is this tax software was required for any organization that was doing business in China. So if you were doing business in China, you had to have this tax software in there so that the Chinese government could reportedly get taxes on the business you were doing. But obviously they installed this other thing. And this goes back to, if you're doing business with some of these folks in maybe countries you don't trust, treat that network, treat those systems you use in that network, where you install the software, treat all of those devices as compromised right from the get-go. Just assume they're compromised, wall them off for the rest of your organization. Just pretend they're in hostile territory, because they are. So anytime we have to deal with this, we're dealing with companies that are in China, North Korea, Iran, anything like that. If you have to deal with those, and a lot of people are dealing with companies, especially in China, because we get a lot of cheap products made there. So a lot of American organizations deal with folks in China. So if you were dealing with folks in China, you probably had this intelligent software or intelligent tax software placed onto your computer, and if you put it on your normal corporate computer, you're probably I'm guessing your whole network is infected now. But that's if you got to do that, have a special dedicated system, essentially a throwaway system that you can use to just to throw away. Do your business with China, do your business with North Korea, or wherever, and just throw it away. Don't have that connect to your normal corporate network if you can avoid it at all. That's the lesson, I think, with this one. And NASA is in the news too. If you are the RMF type, if you're all about the RMF, if you're an RMFer, you like this story a little bit. You kind of hate the story a little bit too. So the Inspector General for NASA notes resource constraints and lack of awareness about information security policies and procedures by personnel are among the reasons behind the continued ineffectiveness of the agency's information systems. And this is NextGov, is the source from NextGov. Obviously, the link is in the show notes below. So the IG looked at annual reports going all the way back to 2011. And they note, the IG note in their most recent review of NASA practices under FISMA, NASA has not implemented an effective agency-wide information security program. That's just, they called it out just like that. They go on later to, for example, in reviewing the agency common control system, which aggregates and manages common controls across all agency information systems, the IG, or Inspector General, found 94 of the 203 common controls that NASA had assessed as being other than satisfied or deficient. So we're definitely talking in this terms here. We're talking in RMF terms when we talk about these things. So there are 203 common controls. And these are things like policies and procedures, but they're also things that are at that level 2 control, like things like antivirus that is supplied to the entire organization, or access control. Maybe we're using Active Directory, those active control password lengths and that kind of thing that are common controls. They find almost half of those common controls were deficient or other than satisfied. So about 50%, their number is 46% of these controls were other than satisfied. It's kind of shameful. Among the mechanisms the agency found malicious code with automatic updates as being deficient. So they're not even updating antivirus on a normal basis. Come on, this is ridiculous in 2020 that an organization like NASA can't lock these things down. I mean, and we know security is hard, but there's a book on this. There's been a book on this for 10, 15 years now. Dr. Ron Ross at NIST and his team did a great job, I think, personally putting the RMF together, and you just have to follow it. So the other thing they found out, the plans and procedures were not in place. So things like a plan of action and milestones or a POAM for correcting actions when the organization identifies controls that are not in place or not working as needed, you should develop a plan of action and milestones to fix them. The IG realized that that doesn't exist in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, the plan of action and milestones is missing. Without these plans or documents to address known control deficiencies, the deficiencies will persist, the IG wrote. As the ACCs, or Agency Common Controls, affect information systems throughout the agency, failure to properly address these deficiencies increase the risk of exploitations that threaten the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, or our CIA or our security triad, and availability of NASA information. For example, without the controls in place to ensure that malicious code protection, antivirus software, receives automatic updates, NASA information systems may be vulnerable to new and emerging threats. That's a quote from the IG and the Inspector General. They tie it back to the Chief Information Security Officer. Chief, and they note here, the Center Chief Information Security Officers are often responsible for managing large portfolios of information systems and are not always and do not always have the resources available to ensure data, risk information security compliance system, or risks for each system is accurate and complete on a timely basis. The report goes on to read. It's just, it's a comedy of errors here. And Dennis, I know we've seen some of this stuff in the past, haven't we? Yeah. Hey, I don't think it slipped by the radar. And this one, I hate to use the words of my former first sergeant. It's just a lackadaisical attitude. It's just, if you can't get the antivirus right, if you can't get some of these base common controls right, you don't need to be a chief information security officer. You don't need to be a chief security officer. These are the basics. Yeah, this is child's play. I agree with Dennis. This is child's play. If you can't, number one, I'll go back to Mike. Number one, you set up, you figure out what equipment you got, what hardware and software you have. Then you got to start building these protective measures. You got to start protecting them. Antivirus, if you don't have an agency-wide antivirus program in place, come on, man. And it's tied. This is, again, all those military catchphrases you had. This is a direct reflection of leadership. This is no technician that's implementing antivirus program. This is not at that level. This is at tier 1. This is a tier 1 problem, and maybe it's above the CSO. Maybe it's above the CISO. The program has failed in this case. It just is bad. NASA agreed with the IG's recommendations, which include ensuring that the oversight process identifies delinquent controls, risk assessments, and leads to timely corrective actions so that security controls are reviewed and tested in compliance with the federal and agency requirements. It's crazy. And I know NASA, like most government organizations, is complex. It's a complex organization. They've got 11 individual agency divisions: headquarters, Goddard Space and Flight Center, Glenn Research Center, and so on from this article. There's a large portfolio in each one, but each of those divisions or agency divisions looks like they've got a chief information security officer for the division. So identify where these things are breaking. Somebody is. I mean, this is bad. It's just not a good place to be. So if we look at the how, or how, the how is just the RMF. The RMF is a 7-step process now. So now we've got that new step, the prepare step that gets us ready for doing doing the RMF. And then it just locks in with what's going on in the SDLC to include that continuous monitoring stage. And just follows. We've got controls. We've got a catalog of controls that addresses almost every single security requirement we've got. We've got definitely addresses everything in this report. It does things like policies and procedures. It talks about the plan of action and milestones. We talk about doing the assessments by independent assessors. We talk about all these things. We talk about implementing the controls early, putting them in place so that we protect the systems. So I think NASA, this is one guy's opinion. NASA is on their butt with this one, and it's sad to see it going like this. It was all the way back to 2011, so it's systemic. It's been going on a long time. I don't know if it's been almost 50% of the controls deficient all the way back to 2011. How this impacts an organization is obviously, without those defensive measures in place, they're susceptible to a ton of different attacks. And this is my guess. It doesn't say anything about this in the article. But my guess is if you can't get antivirus right, you're probably not writing code securely. And we know NASA's got to write a ton of code. I mean, you can't go out to Best Buy or Office Depot and get, space telemetry software off the shelf. It's got to be written. So is that code being written securely? I don't know. I don't know. I've always been a big fan of NASA. I just this is disheartening. This article that um, so it's out there. NextGov wrote this article. Came out June 29th. Just it seems like the biggest breakdown in this seems to be those shared controls, those common controls. And if we look at the way we stratify controls in the RMF, there's the common controls that are available from the organization. There's the system controls that are implemented at the system level, and in between them there's some shared controls or some hybrid controls that both sides have a little bit to do with. And this one looks like just half of the common controls just aren't in place. Crazy. Last on the docket today, talking about passwords. So, recently one of the biggest password reuse studies took place. A researcher looked at over 1 billion leaked credentials on a lot of these dump sites and discovered that 1 out of 142 passwords is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 out of the 1 billion passwords, 1 out of 142, out of every 142, so about 7 million passwords. The largest set of reused passwords here is just the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Study carried out last month by computer engineering student Ada Haxil. I think that's how it's pronounced. I hate to mess people's names up. Analyzed usernames and password combinations on leaked online data breach sites, these data dumps, and found a bunch of information that we don't want to know. As security people, we don't want to know a lot of this stuff. It's just it's not good. So here are the stats that he found. He looked at over 1 billion credential sets. 7 million were this string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A billion of them. Crazy numbers. So then he goes on to find out that the average password length is about 9.48 characters. Obviously that's the average, so you're not putting in half a character. Not good, not terrible. It's definitely more than 8 on average. So some people are really doing good, and some people are probably using 1 or another. 1 or 2. Password length was not the only issue, right? So we obviously, as security people, we want people to have longer passwords or passphrases that can be, 14, 16, 24 or more characters, just maybe even a phrase or something that you type in there. But password length wasn't the only issue discovered. Only 12% had a special character, which increases the complexity of the password. In some cases, they were just letters. So in 29% of the passwords found, they were only letters. 13% were only numbers, which is even a smaller character set. It means around 42% of all passwords included in this million password data set, about half of them almost, were vulnerable to a quick dictionary attack that will allow the attacker just bad things to happen once your password's given away. No, training. That's why we got to get together every morning, just like pump each other up to get out there and fight the good fight. Folks are still not taking this security seriously. When you have a password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that means you just don't care. That's just like running your finger across the top of the keyboard and saying you're good to go. And then you wonder why your your bank account has no money in it because it got hacked. So here's what he found out. Most common 1,000 passwords covered 6.6% of all the passwords. So that's kind of a useless stat there. Average password length, like I said, was 9.4822 characters. About 12% of the passwords contain a special character. 28.79% were letters only. But more disturbing than that, 26% were just lowercase letters. 13% were just numbers. and 34% end in a digit, and 4% start with a digit. It's just passwords. So obviously, passwords are part of the protections that keep the bad folks out of your system. That's how we keep the bad folks out and allow access to the people that are supposed to get access. So with bad password practices like this, it becomes very simplistic for attack groups to breach systems. It becomes child's play, especially when you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is probably like in the top 100 things that a dictionary attack will try. You might as well not even have a password sometimes. I think maybe an empty password string would be easier than some of these things, because I don't know how often the attacker is going to try just an empty password string. Probably every time. But it's just amazing that, again, the two articles just that amaze me. I get what Maze is doing. Maze is an evil organization. They're, what were they called? Chaos. Maze is like chaos. They really are, Dennis. They're like chaos. They're out there doing their evil thing. They're gathering their money. They're probably building an evil lair somewhere. On the other side, you've got this going on. Either people are uninformed, like you said. I think Dennis read on the money. You're not training your users. They're not getting trained. And then the NASA thing. The NASA thing, I guess just because RMF's been out so long, how can NASA be so far behind the curve on getting these things done? Not having half your common controls in place. It amazes me. And we look at these things, that's the common controls that everybody needs. These are the controls that are implemented on just about every system in the organization. So if you have bad policies and procedures, if you have bad antivirus, you have bad access control that you're allowing to be inherited across the organization, then all your systems are vulnerable to that. All of them. It's bad juju. I don't know any other way to say it. Yeah, assuming, I think they need a CISO over there, or a chief security officer. I don't know if they have a chief information security officer or a chief security officer. I don't know how they're structured. They definitely need one. They need someone that's going to come in there with some fire and get some things fixed. I don't know if it's a organizational political issue. I don't know if it's and this happens in the government. Sometimes you get people in positions that are not qualified to be in that position. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I don't know the internal workings of NASA. I know this IG report, even if it's half right, even if the IG went off the deep end and wrote up things that aren't there, if they're going back to 2011 and even 25% of the common controls aren't in place, that's heinous. That's a terrible, terrible thing. I don't know. I don't think Mike's online today. He's the RMFer. I thought he'd be talking about RMF. Must have to work. I know he works in an area sometimes where he can't have his phone or anything like that, so he may not be able to be online. So I guess in better news, let's see. Black box pen test. I don't know, Dennis. I don't know. I think if they got a pen test, they don't even need a pen test. I mean, they don't need a pen. The IG came in and did a normal audit, an inspection, and uncovered all these things. And that doesn't seem to have changed them from 2011 to now. And I'm sure this isn't the first time the IG came along. If that hasn't changed things, obviously, yeah, the black box or a red team coming in and doing an assessment of them, I don't know, maybe it'll probably scare the heck out of the people that care. But I don't know, maybe I'm casting this in the wrong light. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but this is just heinous to me. You're right. I don't think you could probably send a college student out there to do a red team event. I wouldn't send one of the big companies out there, because they've got things like antivirus not being updated. I don't know what else they're susceptible to. Yeah, Jim's CSO, Jim's dogs enforcer poems, Bravo's implementer stigs, and other painful tools. I see a team. Yeah, there's a team there. That would be, I guess, if you're the CSO there. Maybe it's the challenge is the policy, the politics of it. I know when I was working at FBI, our unit chief was offered a job at being one of the CSOs at U.S. courts, the court system. And every Supreme Court justice, their environment is unique to them. And because they kind of fall outside of the FISMA requirements, because they're the judicial branch, they don't have to essentially follow FISMA rules. So every justice sets their environment up the way they think it best. So apparently some of the justices just don't have passwords at all, don't have any of this stuff. So it's scary out there. It's scary for security folks. We need to, that's why we all got to back each other up in the morning. I could see Bravo as the implementer of stigs and painful tools. It's funny. But yeah, what are your thoughts on these stories? I think Maze, Dennis is right. Maze is chaos. They are chaos. I think they need to take some of this money and buy an evil lair out there somewhere, and fly around in jets that take off right out of the top of a volcano and stuff. That's them. Maybe Dennis can be the new era Get Smart. We can put him in a shoe phone and have him go down in the his underground super lair. Meet with Agent 99. I don't know. Get Dennis a number. GoldenSpy. I mean, that's just China being China. NSA is or NASA. Excuse me. Is just NASA. I thought we had a what? I thought we missing a story here. Oh yeah, a connection. We almost missed one. Did we talk about this? No, we did talk. We jumped two China stories today. So there is a connection between APT-15 and a defense contractor. Oh no, we skipped the story. That's another one that's important. Lookout, the organization Lookout, linked APT-15 to Xi'an Defense Technology. I often mess these names up. So there's a Lookout has a 52-page report, a PDF, that's available on the link below. This is a ZDNet story. But it noted there was a campaign that infected individuals essentially on the border regions of China, and folks living abroad in about 14 countries that were the target of APT-15. And if you don't know, APT is Advanced Persistent Threat, and the group number 15. And they've got we'll get to the names, they've got a bunch of other names. But if you're using things like the MITRE attack framework, you can build an attack profile. And if you want to look like, okay, what would APT-5 do to our organization? You can click their spreadsheet's kind of cool. You can click APT-5 and it'll show you the normal TTPs or tools, techniques, and procedures that APT uses and how it would impact your organization. There's obviously it doesn't spell everything out. You got to do some legwork to tie the things together, but the attack framework, MITRE attack framework, is pretty cool. So APT-15 has a bunch of other names: Greph, Keychang, Mirage, Vixen, Panda, and Playful Dragon. All other names that APT-15 goes under. That's a good trivia question right there. Get the cone of silence. That would be funny. It would be the digital cone of silence now, right? It would come down over you and it'd be like a tempest cage, and all your wireless devices, all your electronic devices would go out, wouldn't stop working. So going out to infect Windows desktops. The funny thing is, let's go. They identified a bunch of new tools that this organization's using. And when they started drawing lines between all the tools that are associated with this APT, they realized that a lot of the tools are using the same signing certificate, and they're using a shared infrastructure. So they can tie all these things together and say all of these tools and all the exploits used with these tools are part of what APT-15 is doing. The funny thing is, with a lot of these tools, they didn't try to get the applications, the malicious applications onto places like the Google App Store. They used a technique called watering hole attack, where they hacked legitimate sites and they put the malicious software there, and then they waited for users to come and download the software, download the apps. And that's obviously, we see that if the bad guy can't get into your organization, if you're too secure, they'll use something like this watering hole attack, where they find a website that is frequented by your users, by the users of your organization. And if they can exploit that website and plant their code there, that might be a way to get into your organization. So there's always another way around. So that's watering hole attack. So what they did is one of the command and control nodes that was used for one of these tools was left unsecure. So this organization breached that command and control node, and they found the GPS coordinates of 4 devices. And the 4 devices were infected with an early version of the exploit code. So they surmised that these 4 devices were test devices because they're all located in the same place. They're located in the office of this defense contractor in China. So when Lookout did some coordination, some analysis of this, they determined that based on the age of the code, based on where it's located, based on what things look like, they assumed that these devices are test devices that were used to develop this Golden Eagle malware, which is part of the malware that's used by APT15. So now they drew some pretty good lines between APT15 and the Chinese government, Chinese defense. It's a Chinese defense contractor. There's a pretty pure line between them. And the target of APT15 is generally some minorities and some folks that live on the border region of China, as well as people that China wants to investigate in up to 14 different countries. So the story also has some links to some other APTs, like APT3, 10, 17, and 40 have all been linked to Chinese state security officials or Chinese defense organizations. And the nice thing about this ZDNet article is each of those, like APT3, 10, 17, and 40, are hyperlinked to those stories if you want to go read about those. If you want to read more about the APTs, I mean, MITRE ATT&CK framework is awesome. It's got some good things on there, and you can essentially map out how an attacker from one of these APTs, the tools, techniques, and procedures they would use to come at you. So that's one of the things we probably need to talk about at some point as well. Can't believe I missed that story. So with the how of this one's pretty easy, it's a defense contractor. We can assume that it's tied to the Chinese government. Its point is to keep track of what's going on in the border region and with people that China wants to keep track of for one reason or another. The defense for this thing, I mean, the normal defenses are going to be what put you in the safe zone. Obviously, if they're putting applications into these watering hole websites, that breaks one of our tenets, right? We always want to make sure that we're getting our code from a reputable source, which is going to be something like the Google store, and I tongue-in-cheek, I guess, say that's the reputable source, or the Apple store. Some of the stuff, I mean, watering hole attacks are hard to defend against because some applications just aren't available in some of the stores, and when you go get them, you're going to get the malcode. So you have to have malicious code protection on your devices, mobile devices included, your cell phones, your tablets, that kind of stuff. Yeah, the biggest thing, defense in depth, train your users. Always, I'm going to keep knocking on that one. Have protective software in place on your devices, and keep a good lookout. Anything else we miss on any of these? That was our second story, but that's really our last story of the morning. What do you guys think about that? Kind of all over the place this morning with what's going on in the news. What are your thoughts? Art Lake Coffee's in a Boston cup with still some green on it. I keep getting cups with green. Makes it kind of funky in the background. So while we're waiting for you guys to think, waiting for the signal to get out to the ether world out there. Um, your holiday of the day. Obviously, the link to this one's in the show notes below as well. It is World UFO Day. So according to the website, World UFO Day seeks to get governments to fess up to the existence of UFOs. Many people believe that UFOs from from outer space have already visited us, and big government. It's a big government cover a big government cover up hiding the facts from the public. The date was chosen because it's the date of the Roswell incident, a historical event leading to wide speculation and belief that aliens have visited us. 1947, an object crashed at a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. The official explanation was a military crash, but to this day, millions of people believe that it was actually an alien spacecraft. Alien remains from the craft are believed to be held at Area 51, a secret Air Force facility in Nevada. Hey, Denise, you missed the RMF story. Good morning, Denise. Get you on the screen here. Talked about NASA. You're gonna have to go back and listen to the heinous activities at NASA, and they're just bad implementation of the RMF. It's bad juju. I want to ask you guys something. If someone asking about Wi-Fi, and I've got some thoughts in my mind of a good solution. Most of it's just shocking. Clear expresses the need the world desperately has for us, the security folks. Yes, there is. And well, they got to listen too, Dennis. They've got to listen. Yeah. Oh no. D-Nice says, oh no to the NIST or the RMF tragedies going on over NASA. So I got some ideas here and lay out the situation. As someone, and I want to get some of your feedback. Hopefully you have a device you would recommend, because that's going to be better than me going out and doing some research on the web, which I've done. But I want to hear from you guys. So have somebody that's got a space that's about 250 feet. They want to put a new Wi-Fi in, and they want to have a guest access network, and a green zone, office use network. They want MIMO, so multi-input, multi-output, probably multi-user, and probably tri-band. These two-band or tri-band. So let's unpack each of those just for those folks that are listening that don't know each of those. Okay. The bands, when we see bands on a Wi-Fi, they're going to be like early old school stuff was single band. It used one radio frequency, and that was normally 2.8 gigahertz. That was the 802.11b standard. You could also use it back in the old days. You could use 802.11a. It wasn't very common, but that's 5 gigahertz. So normally that was just one antenna, and it would serve one person at a time. So you could have 10 devices, but only one. It was like standing in a line at the grocery store at Walmart. That's probably a good example, because they've got one cashier open and everybody stands in line, and nobody gets to that cashier until that first person is done. And that's how traditionally Wi-Fi works. That's why sometimes it's slow. So that's single band. Dual band came along when they combined those two together. So we've had for a long time, we've had 802.11a and b. So we've had the 2.8 gigahertz range, and we've had the 5 gigahertz range. So the first dual band was, it had one radio, one antenna that took care of the 2.8. Then it had a separate one that took care of 5 gigahertz. Generally running the same network. You could put them on different networks, but generally run the same network. But now you can serve slower devices, the 2.8 gigahertz devices, older devices on that 2.8 band, and then you could serve some of your faster ones on the 5 gigahertz bands. And now you've got two of them. Now it's like 2 lines opened up at Walmart, and if you're on that 2.8 gigahertz, you stand in line, you get served. If you're at 5, you stand in line, you get served. But now you're moving twice as many people through, because now you've got 2 cashiers open. Tri-band, we just added another 5 gigahertz range, because in the 5 gigahertz range, we can separate those bands out enough. So now we can have 3 caches open, and we can have 3 lines, right? In a perfect world, that's how it works. That's how MIMO, dual band and tri-band works. We're just using different frequencies. The problem is with standard MIMO, it's almost like having those 3 cashiers all in the same cashier line. So when that user gets up there, they can have each of the cashiers scanning individual items, but it's still one person being served by those 3 bands. That's why the multi-user MIMO came out. So now all 3 lines are open, all 3 cashiers are different checkouts, and now we've got 3 lines of people going through. So that's tri-band and that's MIMO. So I'm thinking for this situation, we'd want dual band or tri-band MIMO. So multi-user, multi-input, multi-output. So that's going to give us our fastest throughput, right? And I'm assuming we're going to do something here in what I'm calling that level 1 category of access points. So we don't want a huge cost overhead. So we're talking about a couple $100 here. And let's see. Does meshing your network add lines? So yeah, meshing's another term. If we're using meshing, we 100% are using multi-user MIMO. If you ever hear people talking about mesh networks, that's exactly what we're talking about. Mesh networks are going to be multi-user MIMO every time, at least as far as I know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If you're using mesh, you're using MU MIMO. Good point, Paul. Great question. So yeah, we definitely want mesh. We want this multi-user tri-band MIMO. So what did you guys experience? Have you guys used any of these, or are we just going to go off the interwebs review of some of these devices? What's the real world experience with some of these things? And I would say, based on yesterday's news, we stay away from Netgear. Linksys maybe, a Cisco company, or something else. What are your thoughts on a good solution? About 250 square feet we got to cover. We want multi-user MIMO, tri-band at least, probably at least dual band. More probably, I'm guessing today tri-band if we can get it. And thinking maybe your cap of your dollar spend is about $200. What's our thoughts on getting something in that range that you guys are using and you got experience with? Have you got experience with it? What are your thoughts? Just doing a quick search to see what Amazon is telling us. And then maybe you guys can give me your feedback on some of these devices. So maybe we'll see. All right. I'm going to guess that we're going to stay away from this Netgear Nighthawk. I've actually heard a couple good things about this one. Let me know if you've seen any of these. So the one at Linksys has Linksys tri-band router for home, MacStream, the AC 2200 multi-user MIMO. Anybody with experience with this Linksys guy? 4 antennas. Looks like it's a spaceship from outer space. 11 in stock. That's $108. That's not a bad deal at all. Another one here, Linksys MacStream AC 4000, multi-user MIMO, tri-band wireless, smart Wi-Fi, $209. Any of these ringing a bell with you guys? I'm staying away from Netgear. Linksys mesh Wi-Fi router, tri-band. Future Proof, I guess that multi-user MIMO, fast wireless router, $149. Okay, I'm not getting any feedback from you guys, so I'm going to assume you haven't used any of these. Anything you'd want to share with us, I'd love you to hear, even if you throw it in the show notes afterwards. I've got my idea what I think would be good, so I'll share that with them and get him going on the right direction. Hopefully that'll close things up. I was hoping to get some good feedback from you guys, seeing if you guys had implemented any of these in the past, but That might not be the case. So I think we'll run to the end of the day. Then I think we are there. We made it to the end of the really big show. So hopefully you have fun tomorrow. Hopefully enjoy the 4th of July. Enjoy Independence Day. Do good things out there. As Mike Bravo would say, go get some today. I'm going to say be safe. If you like the content, please hit the bell, hit the subscribe, share with your friends, do all that good stuff. We'll be here tomorrow. I don't know, maybe it'll be a shorter show tomorrow, but I do want to get some stuff out. I do want to cover one important thing, though. Last night we got pushed out a couple of the videos. I get it. Doing these videos is a lot easier than doing the canned pre-recorded videos. Live ones are just live. When you make a mistake, you just live with it. Live, the pre-recorded ones take a little bit longer, and they feel a little more artificial to me. So we'll work through that. But RMF, the first RMF one went out, and the first Security Plus one went out. Not really the first. There's obviously others in those streams. But we're probably going to delay the IT Fundamentals Plus. And the reason we're going to do that is when I started looking at the content, it's really good stuff, but it's going to take a good chunk of time. So we're still going to produce it. It's still going to come out. It's just going to be out on a different schedule. It's going to be more of an ad hoc schedule. And the reason I say that is one topic that you look at, and it's like something, the one we were looking at yesterday was peripheral devices. And you think, if you've been around security or around computers a long time, you think about peripheral devices, we can talk about that in about 5 minutes. But if we want to talk about it in a way that somebody that's new to the field can understand, we have to use much, much more time. And when I looked at it yesterday, I broke it down into kind of 3 big areas. Storage devices, input, like keyboards and stuff like that, and then audio or multimedia. So things like microphones, speakers, HDMI connections, your digital connections. And if we think about each of those, if you think about just the connectors, think about multimedia connectors. We have HDMI, we have digital, we have the old analog. I can't think of the USB-C does it now. There's about 8 different connectors we need to talk about. We need to talk about LCDs versus CRTs because you still need to know that for the test. So when you start looking at one of these subjects, it just expanded. And to give it the amount of time that it's due is going to take a lot more time. So if I'm talking to a group of people that are, been around computers for 10 years, we talk about CRTs and LCDs and things like that and flat panels. It's a lot of stuff's given, but when we talk about it to someone that's new to it, there's 4 different types of screens and 8 different types of connectors, and then we go on to talk about storage and memory. Those are all, is it solid state? Is it disk based? Is it a NAS? Is it external storage? Is it internal storage? These are all things we need to cover. How's it connected? We still got to cover IDE because IDE is still out there. SATA, we've got to cover FireWire. We've got to cover USB-C because those are all used for data now. We need to cover USB 1 through 3. There's so many things that we need to cover that it just needs more time. And it needs the time those people deserve. So we need to expand that out and just put it on an ad hoc schedule. So as we can get to them, they'll be released. What's that? Haven't used Wi-Fi? Haven't used... not sure. That's okay. I'm not sure what you haven't used, D-Nice. That's all right. So that's why we pushed IT Fundamental Plus back. And we're probably going to push the launch date back. But those videos are going to come out. They're going to come out much more detailed than if we tried to rush through them. Oh, can't talk routing and switching. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna dive deep into routing and switching when we build out the network, the secure office, the small office, home office network. So, a couple things that RMF is still on track. Security Plus is still on track. We just had to pull IT Fundamentals Plus back just to give it the time it deserves. So it'll still come out. It's just going to come out at a much slower schedule. We're going to release a new release schedule that'll be 2. It'll be those things that are ad hoc, like building the gaming cabinet, building the Raspberry Pi gaming unit. I want to also build something called a Pi hole. And if this is kind of new to me, it's been around a while, so it shouldn't be new to me. But in the home environment, this is it's pretty cool. It's a Raspberry Pi based DNS device you set up for yourself. You point all your devices at this Raspberry Pi. It serves as DNS for your home network, and it strips a lot of the advertisements out of your web traffic. It's awesome. If it works as advertised, if it works half as good as advertised, it's going to be $100 well spent. Probably less than $100. It's just a Raspberry Pi. It runs the Pi hole software. You point all your systems at it as the DNS, and it negotiates and removes a lot of the adware coming at you. So it's gonna be a cool project, but that's on. We've got this whole pile of projects to do that are just gonna be. They're fun projects, but they're gonna take time to do to make sure we detail well enough what's going on with them. So they're coming. I'm looking for. I want to build the Raspberry Pi gaming unit into an old school VHS tape, and I was thinking about like War Games or Tron or something like that. So you pull the cassette tape out of the case, and you plug your power supply in and your game controllers in. You plug it in your TV or whatever, and you go to town. It looks like a fun project to do. Lots of dremeling going on, lots of gluing stuff going on, lots of building stuff. So that can also tie into our IT Fundamentals Plus. So we're talking about components on a circuit board, and we're talking about those components of a computer. That's a good time to look at them and say, there's a CPU, there's RAM, there's storage. We can do that with that. So that's the long and short of it. I know a lot of you guys got days off coming, so enjoy the weekend. Be safe out there. Like, subscribe, comment, of course. If you're watching this later and you want to comment on a good tri-band MU MIMO router access point, let me know. If not, I'll give my best feedback to the person asking for it, and they can go forward and build it out. I've got some good. It's down to about 3 that I really like. So, but anyways, thank you, Alex. Thank you guys for being here. D-Nice, Dennis, Paul. If anybody else out there, I don't see nobody from Twitch this morning. I guess we're in vacation mode already. That's a good thing. So I'll be here tomorrow if you're going to be here. If not, I'll put it out. You can watch it at your leisure. Enjoy the 4th. Happy birthday to America. As the shirt says, from Great Britain, you traitorous scoundrels or whatever. But enjoy the day. As Mike would tell us, go get some, and we'll see you tomorrow.